Good morning, family. Welcome back again to the village. As you can tell, today we are filming from a very different location. We traveled about 40 minutes away from Karating and we are in Kakamega County. I am looking at an amazing building that has been put together by some two women that are just the best in the business. And it's bright and early in the morning. We left so early. We left about 6:30, and by 7 we're already here because there's a celebration to get things going. The house is still in progress, but we are really excited to get this new family started. And so if you are watching us for the first time, I hope you enjoy what you're going to watch. And if you do, at the end of the video, I hope you subscribe and you come back again for more. And so today, I'm going to continue with the conversation that we started 2 days ago in our previous video. If you missed that video, I would recommend before you watch today's video, please go back and watch the video that I posted 2 days ago about the mistakes we made with interior finishes. So today I'm just going to focus on things you can do to avoid the mistakes that I made. In the previous video, I simply walked you through the mistakes. Today we are talking about solutions again from a layman's perspective. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this particular house we're going to review today is built almost 100% by women. The brains behind this house is an amazing woman who I've known for a good while, and she's been supported by a really good friend who also happens to be a female engineer, killing it in the village. Oh, and by the way, on your right, you're looking at my alma mater. That is the university where I graduated with my bachelor's many years ago. Anytime I drive through this town, I just feel amazing because I have absolutely exceptional memories about my experience going through Maseno University more than 20 years ago. Actually, it's almost like 25 or so years ago since the last time I was here as a student. But this university actually is in my village. So at this point, we're just driving through Maseno town and the neighboring villages or the neighboring centers, on our way to go welcome our friend who is getting into her house. And so as you enjoy the scenery, you're looking at places right outside Maseno, heading towards Leland, places like that. But as you do that, I just want to highlight a few things. In case you find yourself in my spot, and by my spot I mean you're not an expert in things construction. You find yourself just excited about building, and so you're learning from online sources and watching what people are doing and visiting folks. You are in my spot. I'm not an expert. I don't do this for a living, but things construction, especially in the village, excite me. So I talk about these things, especially as it relates to folks who are moving back, either from the city to the village or from diaspora to the village. So as I said earlier, I'm going to talk about solutions to about 5 problems that I talked about. In the previous video, I talked about mistakes regarding electrical works, mistakes around plaster works, mistakes around tiling, mistakes around painting, mistakes in bathrooms, and then finally mistakes around accessibility. So in today's video, I'm simply going to offer some suggestions that I think may work for you, especially if you are not yet at the stage where you're doing interiors. There's some things you want to think about ahead of time that will save you a ton of money. Because for us, it simply meant a lot of demolishing things that were already built, that we paid for, that didn't turn out well. So I hope you can avoid the mistakes by listening to this video. So let's talk about solutions to electrical works. Here are some things that I learned the hard way. Number 1, make sure that you have enough sockets and outlets in every room. Check those drawings and be sure you know where every socket and outlet is. Number 2, be sure to mix different types of outlets, especially if you're looking at cutting costs. There are electrical outlets that have USB ports, others don't. So for us, what we ended up doing was putting a mix of those with USB ports and those without to manage cost. But it's really been helpful in terms of getting multiple places to charge things. And then the next electrical solution to keep in mind is make sure that these switches are placed correctly, not behind doors. So think about yourself getting into a room. When you open the door, where would you like to touch the switch? So if the switch is somewhere further, you want to make sure it's repositioned to a place that is convenient. And also, when it comes to separating electrical systems, especially for multi-level houses, you want to make sure that if your house is 2 levels, you can actually shut down power on the lower level and keep the upper level working. So that if you have a problem just at the upper level, you don't have to shut down power in the entire house to fix it. So separate those systems in the same way we separate plumbing systems. The next thing about electrical works too, make sure that your automated lights, security lights, can also be controlled in such a way that it doesn't take up all of your solar power, because that can be a problem. When you're positioning the exterior bulbs, think about what it takes to replace those bulbs. There are some lightings that I put in our house in places that are almost impossible to replace. So think about the process that it takes to replace bulbs. And then, of course, make sure that when it comes to power that goes to the caretaker house, you separate it in such a way that the caretaker can still use solar power for lighting, but not on the sockets, because they can end up damaging your power systems if you're using solar lights. Also, be sure to use smart bulbs, because in Kenya they have these types of bulbs that I don't know what they call them. I just call them smart bulbs, that allow you to use lighting even after power goes off for a period of time. When it comes to plaster, whatever you do, please use highly skilled folks. They may be expensive, but it'll save you a ton of headache down the road. And make sure you do quality control, especially when it comes to thickness of the walls and the doors. Have somebody measure to make sure that everything is running as it should be. With tiling, just the same as with the plaster, whatever you do, you'd rather pay somebody who is more expensive but is highly skilled to make sure that they're doing the correct work. And if at all possible, keep the same person, because whenever you transition between folks, then you'll notice difference in quality of the work that is delivered. If at all possible, always buy extra tiles. You'd rather have extra tiles that you have no need for than realize you are missing tiles that you cannot find when you go back to the store. Extra tiles is always a good idea. And then again, the tiles that come from India, it's either India or Uganda. There's one of these places where they produce tiles that look very nice, but they break quite a bit. Be careful with those types of tiles and ask around. People will advise you on that. With cleanup, make sure cleaning up, folks who are working are cleaning up meticulously every day, because a lot of that dirt really comes to bite you later on. Paint jobs, same as with plaster work, please, whatever it costs, even if you're going to pay more, make sure you're using somebody who is really good, and not just good based on what has been reported. Go and see exactly what they have produced before you hire them. Because again, when it's poorly done, it's going to cost you quite a bit to redo it and fix all of that, because they often have to come in, scrape the terrible one, and then redo the whole thing again. You don't want to do that. With the bathrooms, you want to make sure that you don't have to eliminate bathrooms as a matter of saving cost. What you're going to save is very little in the grand scheme of things. It's probably not worth it. When you're thinking about the layout of bathrooms, my personal preference is that when you open the door, the first thing you meet is the vanity, and then the toilet, and then the shower. That way, you don't have water or wet areas spilling water back to the door. So I prefer having the vanity at the beginning, toilet, and then shower at the end. Make sure you have sockets around the vanities. This will help with charging toothbrushes, or charging the stuff that women use for drying hair. I don't know what they call it, but yes, you will need electrical outlets at the vanity. Also, avoid the cheaper silver fittings for glass frames. Some of them rust after some time, and you won't know either. So I prefer using black fittings instead of the silver ones. And also, when it comes to partitions, make sure they are watertight. Gypsum ceilings, there are specific designs that really work well for bathrooms. Check that before you do it. And then with drainage, always insist they check how water drains before it's all done. The tiling folks that I've worked with seem to set tiling without really making sure that the slopes are correct. And so even today, I'm still struggling with the issue of tiling works in wet areas that don't help with drainage. So in 3 of my bathrooms, you have water that is pooling on the floor, and then outside I have water that is pooling right outside the door. And that can be a massive safety issue, because when you have wet areas where people are walking, that always spells disaster. So make sure that the tiling folks, before they leave, they test. They check the level and they test to make sure that they've set the floor so that water flows straight into the drainage. And then in terms of accessibility, be sure to set up slightly larger doors. Anytime you hear the word standard, then you know you have a problem. Whatever you do, I prefer going for slightly larger doors, and then make sure your vanity heights are reasonable, to the point where if a person is sitting on a wheelchair, they can actually wash their hands comfortably. Ours right now are so high that they are not even very user friendly for kids. And then lastly, be sure to have space underneath the vanity. So if you have a wheelchair user, their legs can stick underneath while they're using it. Again, I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you in the next. Thank you.